Hey, Steelers fans, we need to talk about what's happening on the defensive side of the ball because, honestly, what we've been seeing lately is just not cutting it. If you've been following the games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been frustrating, it's been baffling, and it's started to feel like we're spinning our wheels without any real progress. Now, I don't want to make this about finger pointing or trying to blame one player for the mess, because the truth is that everyone on the defensive squad, from the head coach down to the positional coaches and all the players on the field, has contributed to what we're seeing. But when a defense is performing at the level we've been witnessing, you can't just sit back and accept it. You have to start somewhere, and for me, that somewhere is the secondary. Looking at the secondary, there are obvious issues that you can't ignore. Players are struggling to cover, they're missing tackles, and quarterbacks are taking advantage of every single opportunity to exploit gaps that shouldn't even exist at this level. And it's not just a matter of theory. The stats are undeniable. Over the course of a career, some of these veterans have had solid numbers, but right now, they're performing well below what we've come to expect. Completion percentages against them have skyrocketed, passer ratings are ballooning, and the missed tackle rates are climbing to levels that would have been unthinkable a few years ago. You saw it with the last game against Green Bay. Watching some of these plays unfold, you could see defenders practically avoiding contact, missing the fundamentals of their position, and giving up easy yards. It's not just disappointing, it's alarming. One of the most glaring examples is how some of the older cornerbacks, who've had incredible careers, are now battling the one opponent no one can beat: Father Time. We've all seen players dominate for years, earn Pro Bowl nods, and even win Super Bowls, but age catches up to everyone eventually. And in football, especially in the secondary, even a slight dip in speed, reaction time, or agility can be catastrophic. Quarterbacks don't hesitate, and receivers exploit every inch of space. What used to be a cornerback's bread and butter, like press coverage or closing speed, can suddenly become liabilities. The numbers tell the story. For a veteran who historically allowed completion percentages in the high 50s this season, those numbers have jumped into the mid-70s. Passer ratings against them are 30 points higher than their career average, and missed tackles have doubled. Those are not small deviations. Those are glaring signs that change is necessary. And here's the thing. Benching someone isn't about punishing them. It's about adjusting to reality. You don't do it to make a statement or to point fingers. You do it to protect the team and to give younger, more capable players a chance to perform. And when I look at the young talent on this roster, there are players who are clearly ready for more responsibility. They're faster, they're more athletic, and the numbers show that when they're on the field, quarterbacks are completing fewer passes, their passer ratings against are lower, and they're making tackles rather than missing them. They bring energy, they bring effort, and most importantly, they give the defense a chance to be competitive again. But making that transition is more nuanced than just swapping one player for another. It's not like replacing a center or a tackle where the roles are strictly defined. In the secondary, you have to consider positions, matchups, and situational packages. Sometimes a player might move from the outside to the inside. Sometimes they're subbed in for nickel or dime packages, and sometimes they rotate in and out to manage fatigue and coverage responsibilities. Coaches need to understand these dynamics to make effective decisions, and players need to be prepared to adapt to the roles assigned. The potential is there, and the talent is there, but it has to be utilized properly. The defense cannot continue to operate at the level it has been, because the current results are unacceptable, and everyone watching knows it. We're almost halfway through the season, and by now, we've seen enough to know the identity of this defense. We've seen the limitations, the gaps, and the weaknesses, and it's clear that what we've been witnessing cannot continue. You can't just encourage effort or morale and expect things to suddenly change. Football is a game of adjustments, of schemes, of preparation, and of execution. And when all three of those elements falter consistently, the results are obvious. That means making tough decisions, and that often starts with the secondary. Younger corners who have fewer snaps but have shown tremendous promise in coverage and tackling deserve opportunities to play more. They've demonstrated that they can be reliable, that they can bring a spark, and that they can make plays that shift the momentum in a game. What's also interesting here is how coaching dynamics play into this. The head coach, who is widely respected for his defensive background, is responsible for overall leadership, culture, and structure, but he also relies on his coordinators and positional coaches to craft specific game plans and make in-game adjustments. The landscape of football has changed dramatically over the past decade. It's no longer enough to simply know the fundamentals. The analytics, film study, multiple camera angles, situational packages, and countless layers of strategy require coordination and trust across the entire staff. The head coach may not call every defensive play personally anymore, but his oversight and decision-making influence everything that happens on the field. And when those decisions lead to consistent breakdowns in coverage or missed tackles, it reflects not just on the players, but on the entire defensive coaching framework. Even with the complexity of modern coaching staffs, some patterns are still troubling. We see games where obvious adjustments are not made until halftime, if at all, and plays that should be corrected immediately persist throughout the game. It's a combination of players not executing properly, schemes not adapting, and communication failing somewhere in the chain. And as fans, it's hard not to notice. When you're sitting in the stands, or even watching on television, the failures are glaring. Open receivers, neutralized pass rushers, blown coverages, it's all there for anyone to see. And while we respect the history and accomplishments of veteran players and coaches alike, football is a results-driven sport, and the results right now are unacceptable. At this stage, it's about creating accountability while giving the team a chance to succeed moving forward. The younger players, the energetic, skilled, and athletic players on the roster, are ready to step up. They bring a level of performance and reliability that could make a real difference in the secondary, especially in coverage and tackling, which have been major pain points. It's about making the strategic adjustments that are necessary, giving these players the snaps they deserve, and reshaping the defense into a unit that can be competitive again. Without change, the pattern will continue, and the Steelers' defensive struggles will keep defining the team's season in ways that none of us want. Now let's shift the focus a little bit and talk about where the responsibility truly lies. Because yes, individual players can underperform, but when those issues become patterns, they point straight to coaching. Mike Tomlin has built a reputation over the years as a defensive-minded head coach, someone who understands discipline, preparation, and structure. But lately, that image feels like it's been slipping. Fans who have watched this team for years can feel it. The standard that once defined the Steelers' defense just isn't there anymore. We're seeing confusion in coverage, slow reactions, missed reads, and an overall lack of accountability that used to be the backbone of this franchise. And here's where things get complicated. The modern NFL is not the same league it was when Tomlin first came in. Back then, a coach could rely on instinct, on film, on gut feeling. Now, the game has evolved into a science. There's data for everything: formations, tendencies, player matchups, analytics on situational success rates. And the best teams know how to use that information. That's where the Steelers seem behind. It's not that the knowledge isn't there. It's that the adaptation hasn't kept pace. You look at other organizations that have embraced analytics and innovation, and you can see how quickly they adjust mid-game. The Steelers, on the other hand, often look like they're reacting 2 quarters too late. Think about how many times we've watched the same issues unfold game after game. The opposing offense finds a weakness, exploits it repeatedly, and the adjustments don't come until halftime, if at all. That's not just on the players. That's a systematic problem. You can tell when a team is prepared for its opponent versus when it's scrambling to catch up. And right now, the Steelers are in scramble mode far too often. The defensive schemes that used to work a decade ago just don't hold up anymore against the complexity of modern offenses. The passing game has evolved. Route trees have multiplied, quarterbacks read defenses faster than ever, and receivers are more explosive. Without adapting coverage schemes and play-calling strategies, even the most talented roster will look ordinary. There's another piece of this puzzle that often gets overlooked: the connection between the players and the coaching staff. In the past, that bond was unshakable. When Dick LeBeau was running the defense, There was an undeniable trust between the coaches and the players. Everyone understood their assignments, but beyond that, they understood the philosophy behind each call. That level of understanding built confidence. Players didn't just react, they anticipated. They knew what was coming because the preparation was so deep and so detailed. That's what made those legendary defenses so special. The mutual respect, the clarity, and the belief that everyone was pulling in the same direction. Now, it feels like that connection has weakened. You can see it in the body language on the field. Players unsure of their assignments, looking around after a big play, searching for answers that aren't coming. That's not a talent issue. That's communication. And communication starts at the top. A defensive unit can only operate as well as its leadership allows it to. When that leadership feels scattered, so does the defense. The NFL has become a league where adjustments win games. The teams that thrive are the ones that can change strategy on the fly. You watch Kansas City, Baltimore, San Francisco, they're constantly evolving mid-game. The Steelers, though, often stick to the same script, waiting until it's too late to make changes. The question then becomes, is the staff too rigid, or is it just out of sync with today's game? Maybe it's a bit of both. There's a difference between discipline and stubbornness, and sometimes it feels like this defense leans more toward the latter. And look, no one's questioning Tomlin's leadership as a motivator. His players respect him, his presence is commanding, and he's one of the most stable figures in the league. But leadership isn't just about inspiration, it's about evolution. The best coaches in the NFL have managed to reinvent themselves over time. Bill Belichick did it for years, adjusting his approach to match the strengths and weaknesses of his personnel. Andy Reid completely transformed his offensive philosophy when a league changed. Adaptation isn't a weakness, it's survival. And right now, the Steelers are in desperate need of that kind of evolution. When you strip it all down, this isn't just about one bad stretch of football. It's about whether the organization is willing to embrace the reality that what worked before might not work anymore. The defense needs fresh schemes, younger voices in the room, and a willingness to bench even the most respected veterans if they're no longer producing. It's not disrespect, it's accountability. And accountability is what made this franchise great in the first place. The Steelers have always been a team built on identity, toughness, precision, and pride. But somewhere along the line, that edge dulled. There are still bright spots. You can see flashes from younger players who fight for every down, who tackle hard, who read plays quickly and refuse to give up yards after the catch. They're the ones who deserve more time on the field. They represent what this defense could be again if given the chance to develop. But that chance has to come through decisive action, not hesitation. Because every week that passes without meaningful change is another week where the same mistakes repeat themselves. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a stunning twist that's sending shockwaves across the NFL world, whispers around league circles suggest that Trevor Lawrence, the golden-haired prodigy and face of the Jacksonville Jaguars, may be preparing for a seismic move. Multiple insiders are hinting that Lawrence has chosen the Pittsburgh Steelers as his next destination, setting off a storm of speculation about one of the boldest quarterback shifts in recent memory. While nothing is official, the chatter has grown too loud to ignore. Sources close to the quarterback reportedly claim that Lawrence has grown frustrated with the direction of the Jaguars and is eyeing a franchise that matches his championship ambitions. And what better landing spot than Pittsburgh, a city built on grit, defense, and the relentless pursuit of Super Bowl glory. The Steelers, for their part, have been eerily quiet. No denials, no confirmations. Just a tight-lipped front office that seems to be playing its cards very close to the chest. But fans have already taken to social media, flooding timelines with mock-ups of Lawrence in black and gold, and imagining the golden boy leading the Steelers back to the big stage. If the rumor proves true, it would be nothing short of a game-changer. The Steelers, with their ironclad defense and a promising offensive core, could instantly leap into Super Bowl contention. Lawrence, known for his poise, arm strength, and leadership, would inherit a football culture that thrives on intensity and tradition. A far cry from the roller coaster ride he's endured in Jacksonville. Behind the scenes, insiders suggest that a Super Bowl plan is already in motion, a quiet but determined effort to reshape Pittsburgh's offensive identity around a true franchise quarterback. The idea is simple: build around Lawrence, make a deep playoff run, and reclaim the Lombardi Trophy that has eluded the Steel City since the Roethlisberger era. Of course, in the NFL, rumors are like wildfire. They spread fast and burn hot, but not all leave a mark. Still, this one feels different. There's a sense of inevitability in the air, a whisper that the next Super Bowl story might just begin in Pittsburgh, with Trevor Lawrence under center, ready to turn the league upside down. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.